5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's Saturday, June 6, 2026. Recorded live from the English Valley's History Center. Here's Jackie.
Hi, we have some acquisitions to start with this morning. This is Edwin Jordan standing behind me. And what he has brought is the North English class of 1941. His dad, Leo Jordan, is in this picture. His dad, Leo Jordan's in there. Jack Claypool, Clifford Smothers, Cleone Cram, who is his mother's sister, Sarah Jane Hohenschel, who is John Hall's mom. We've been looking for these. If you've got one, bring them in. Thanks so much. Now, on to the next thing we've got.
Second row, first one.
Now we've got something else that, if you look on the English Valley's History Center page, in April 2016, Jim Lockridge donated a half-mile long right-of-way of the old Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad spur into town to the city of North English. His longtime dream was that residents would enjoy the trail for nature discovery, recreation, and educational purposes for years to come. In early 2024, a group of area residents working with the Pride in North English, or PINE group, began cleaning up the trail, removing brush and encroaching trees in order to fulfill Jim's dream. A new pedestrian bridge replaces the old railroad bridge over the creek, leading to a park area with a shelter for picnics and small gatherings. Sit and enjoy the surroundings on the park benches along the trail. So these signs will be unveiled in a dedication ceremony for the commemoration of the railroad history, the efforts of the many volunteers, and the gift of the Smoky Row Trail to the city on Friday, July 24th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. during the Fun Days weekend. And I wanted to show you this picture that's showcased on those picture boards. There's two picture boards. And this picture here is of a train in North English that was taken by Evan Garrett. And I think it's a really neat picture of how things looked in those days. Now we're going to go to the Diaries of Lib Wade. My name is Jackie Garinger McDermott. This diary was written by Libby Wade. She was my dad's great aunt, and her full name was Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade. She was 76 years old in 1950. She lived in a house on East Oak Street in North English, Iowa, with her son, Russell Wade. November 9th, 1950. Cold and windy. Dark again today. Wind comes down the chimney, causing a smell of kerosene. No worse than coal smoke would be, and I could turn it off if necessary. Mary R. was here. She brought a doily that she bought in Sigourney. Pretty and different. I think I can make one like it, when I get some finished that I'm working on. Mary Regsager is in the back right side of this picture with her late husband, Fred. Mary is a neighbor down the street. She lives in this house at 224 East Oak Street. Mary used to sell eggs to Lib, but she doesn't keep chickens anymore since she was very ill, but she is now recovered. Lib is an excellent seamstress and also does great crochet work. Maud was here. She told about a terrible accident and Mrs. Hervey's death. Mr. H is still in the hospital, and also her father, Mr. Faree. He almost has pneumonia. Maud Foster Claypool was the neighbor who was married to Lib's nephew, Ray Claypool. Their son-in-law, Elroy Hervey, has just lost his mother, Blanche Hervey, who was one day short of her 55th birthday in a car accident. Blanche and Charlie and one of their grandchildren were in the Hervey car. The grandson was not injured. Blanche's father, Will Faree, who was near 80 years old, was not involved in the accident, but he was also hospitalized. The North English Record carried this story on the accident and, as was the choice in those days, showed a picture of the vehicles. Pictured is the two-car accident which took the life of Mrs. Charles Hervey, 54, on November 7th. She was riding in the 1944 Ford, driven by her husband, John Axmere. John Axmere, 58, was driving the 1950 Buick. The head-on crash occurred 1 mile north of Keswick. Funeral services for Mrs. Hervey were held Friday. Burial was in the White Pigeon Cemetery. Shown on the right in this picture is Elroy Hervey, who was the son of Mrs. Hervey. Elroy is married to Amy Claypool, the daughter of Maud and Ray Claypool. They are shown here with their two youngest sons, Edward, who was in the service, and Darrell. I cooked chicken in the deep well cooker. First chick I have cooked that way. Was very good. Lib has just purchased her first electric stove and is learning to cook with it. There is a recessed burner on the back row with a deep well cooker that would have resembled this pictured stove. You can see in the back left corner that there's a deep well cooker there. The water was turned off today for a while. They're trying to fix the tank, I believe. I think that Lib was calling this the tank, that she was referring to the 1936 water tower. You can see it in this picture. This picture of the water tower was taken by Ernie Dye, the father of my faithful listener, Vera Dye. November 10th, 1950. Cold wind. I had a little trouble with the oil stove. Oil didn't run in. Walter came and turned it on, so it's okay now. Walter, or Bud Wade, is Lib's grandson, and he lives 2 houses away on Southeast Street. Earl Carter came this a.m., stayed until about 2 o'clock. Nell works until about that time. He lives in Wyoming, over by KC. He has 240 acres of land and lives alone. He is my cousin's son, a brother of Nell Blair. Has been away from here since 1910. Has been back a few times for short visits. They lived near us when he was a youngster, and he's like one of the family returned. Earl Carter was the son of Benjamin Ellsworth Carter and Margaret or Maggie Claypool. Maggie Claypool was the daughter of Lib's uncle Samuel Claypool. I don't have a picture of Earl, but here's a picture of his mother, Maggie Claypool, with her siblings. Maggie is on the top left. Earl's father, Benjamin Ellsworth Carter, was the brother of my great-grandma Rosa Carter Claypool, and who was married to Lib's older brother, Arthur Benton Claypool. It is a very good example of how the Carter and Claypool families are very intertwined. I will be telling a little bit about the Carter families in my feature story next week. I ran out of time to get that story ready for today. Earl's sister, Nell Carter Blair, lived in North English and worked uptown. The rest of their Carter siblings scattered around the country, and I have had contact with some of their descendants when I started doing genealogy. Nell Carter Blair was married to Frank Blair, and their children went to North English High School, and many joined the service. And Nell's grandson, Larry Kaufman, married Lib's great-niece, Alberta Claypool, an example of a Carter Claypool descendant marrying Carter. See how tangled it gets? Had visitors besides him, Maud and Amy and Gertie, and Amy's 2 youngest children. Elroy's mother's funeral was today, and Maud kept the children. Amy Claypool Hervey's 2 youngest children at that time were Virginia, and Lyle. Edward and Darrell were not born until later. Hattie was over too. Flossie was here a while. Hattie Newberry Killian was one of Lib's best friends, and she lived over on Boland Avenue, where she ran a boarding house. Flossie West was the granddaughter of Lib's cousin Wallace Claypool, and she lived in the country with her parents Millard and Molly Claypool and her young daughter Barbara West. Flossie is on the left side of this picture when she worked for the telephone office. Received Anna's letter. Milan went to Houston for an exam. He had expected to be home for a few days if he passed, but called and said he was to go to San Diego, so they are feeling pretty badly about it. Anna Cray is Lib's daughter in Texas. She's married to Richard Cray. Milan Cray is Lib's grandson who has joined the Navy. This is worrisome to the family members because the nation is at war with Korea. Milan and his brothers Arlen and Verl Cray all served in the Navy. Jenny was up this evening, brought 2 pumpkins and a pie. Jenny Wade is married to Lib's oldest son, Wayner Perky Wade, and they live down on the next block. The Oddfellows husked their corn today, had dinner at the hall. The Oddfellows, or International Order of Oddfellows, is a men's group who meets at the hall upstairs of this building on Main Street, which is not far at all from Lib's front door. Evidently they have some land, have grown some corn on it, and have now gathered to husk the corn and then eat dinner together. Mary Lou Lockridge and Jerry Harris married this evening at the Christian Church. The war news is getting worse. Mary Lou Lockridge and Jerry Harris were members of the class of 1950 who had just graduated that spring. They were the parents of 4 children, Christy and Kathy, and Terry and Tony Harris. They were married for 68 years and were lifelong farmers. They are shown in this picture from the 1954 centennial with 4 other classmates from 1950 who married classmates, Betty and Kenny Donahue, and Phyllis and Jim Wiggins. Jerry Harris is on the right side of the picture with daughter Christy in the stroller, and Mary Lou is on the other side of their friend Jim Wiggins. Mary Lou is holding daughter Kathy. Saturday, November 11th, 1950, Armistice Day, and that would be what we call Veterans Day now. Cold but clear and bright. Russell worked until 10 o'clock, came home and ate a lunch, rested a while until Bruce and someone else came for him to go hunting. They are going up by Millersburg to some of Bruce's in-laws to hunt pheasants. Warren was here a while. Russell, or Taller Wade, is Lib's youngest son, and she lives in his house with him and does most of the cooking. Russell is shown in this picture with his brother Wayne or Perky Wade on the left and Warren or Mike Wade on the right. All 3 boys live in North English. Bruce Warner is married to Georgia Lorch from Millersburg. Bruce is Russell's boss at the Home Lumber Company, and they sometimes go hunting and fishing together. I am not feeling very well today. Intestinal disturbance. Guess I'll be okay. Have thought so much about Milan and the others down there. Sure, too bad. Lib is very worried about the war, as it has not been that long since the terrible tragedies of World War II, and now her grandsons are involved. Stella came up in the PM, brought me some sausage, was here for quite a visit. Judy and Kate were here a while. Stella Wallace is a neighbor and the mother of Lena, who is married to Lib's son, Warren Wade. Judy Wade is Lib's youngest granddaughter, the daughter of Lena and Warren Wade. Here is a picture of Judy in later years. Russell brought home a pheasant and a rabbit, had them to dress. I got supper and he rested on the lounge a while. Was glad to stay in, I think, after his trip today. Tracy called, said Marvin was taken to some hospital away from San Antonio for observation and care. She didn't know where he went. Tracy Wallace was my paternal great-grandmother and a friend of Lib's. Her grandson, my Uncle Marvin Geringer, is in the Air Force stationed in San Antonio, Texas, and has an infection in the bone in his leg. Today is the birthday for the Popham twins across the street. 4 today.
Nice picture of your mother.
See you, John.
Bye.
This here is Ron Popham. And this is Don Popham, and they both graduated from English Valleys in 1965. Sunday, November 12th, 1950. Afternoon now, 3:30. I got up rather early, cooked the rabbit thinking it would be nice for breakfast. Russell was too tired to care about anything, so I put the pheasant on to cook and some pears. At about that time, Earl Carter came. Russell was up then, so we visited, and in a little while, Glenn Pettibone came. It was so nice to see them both. We had a good visit. Glenn went, and Earl stayed until afternoon. Nell came then, and they were here until after 3. Glenn Pettibone is shown in this picture with his sister Armilla Ballard and his parents, OLC and Lou Pettibone. Glenn lived at the corner of Oak Street and Boland Avenue in a stucco house when I was a kid. He was married to Cora McCombs and was the great uncle of my faithful listener, Sharon Wilhite Hagen. Glenn was the grandson of Lib's uncle, William Glenn Claypool. In fact, his name was William Glenn Pettibone. His father was Oscar Leroy Carter Pettibone, or OLC Pettibone, and his mom was Lucy Myers Claypool, called Lou Claypool. His mother and Earl Carter's mother were sisters, so they were first cousins. This is Lou Claypool Pettibone on the right, Maggie Claypool Carter on the left, and their brothers, John Tabor Claypool and William Nelson Ornette Claypool. Also, for those paying attention, that makes my faithful listener, Sharon Wilhite Hagen, a descendant of both the Carters and the Claypools. Can anybody else on my faithful listener list say the same? I'll bet there are other Carter Claypool descendants out there. Bruce came down to see Russell about going hunting again this PM. He went. Jenny and Frida and the children were here a while. I got to see John Edward for the first time. He is a pretty little baby, fair, round face. Jimmy is walking now, the first I've seen him walk. Claudia is nice as always. They came home from Frida's folks in Hedrick. Walter came and went home with them. Frida Wade was a longtime teacher in the grade school here. She was married to Lib's grandson, Walter or Bud Wade. Their children were the newborn John Wade, one-year-old Jim Wade, and Claudia Wade. Russell came home. No game. He was tired and rested a while. We had supper and he got ready to go. Hattie called. I was alone, so Russell went over and brought her here for the evening. She went home a little before 10. I must write to Anna now. Hattie said Skipper Floring was at her place today. Has to go back soon to San Diego. He is in the Navy. Skipper, or Donald Floring, was the son of Lee Floring and Blanche Weimer, and he was raised out at Hinkletown. The English Valleys History Center promotes the rich history of the communities within the river valleys of the North, Middle, and South English Rivers. It encompasses an area roughly served by the English Valley School District, from Deep River to near Parnell and from Watcher to Kinross. This also includes the communities of Millersburg, North English, Webster, and South English. Please send donations to the English Valleys History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa, 52316. I found an interesting story while I was doing my research. This is a story about a wreck that involved the Alfred Van Dee family at Christmas time, 1952. When returning home to their farm west of North English Friday afternoon, the Alfred Van Dee family had a narrow escape from serious injury and possibly death when the top of their car was sheared off by a Vinton produce truck. Icy roads caused the freak accident near the Mrs. Will Dennis farm. The entire Van Dee family, the parents and 5 children, were in the car. The truck driver attempted to pull to the right of the road to pass the Van Dee car when the rear end of the truck slipped around. At hood level, the box on the truck flattened the top of the car. Only quick thinking by Mr. and Mrs. Van Dee in the front seat with the 2 small children saved them from being beheaded. They hugged the seat cushion, Mr. Van Dee pulling down with him the young son who had been standing in the middle of the front seat. The truck box passed directly over them and also just above the heads of the 3 children in the rear seat, as the car top was crushed and battered. The only injuries to the family resulted from the glass showered upon them. Mr. Van Dee and Keith had small cuts on their heads, and daughter Audrey received a few scratches. The truck driver brought them to the doctor's office here, where they were treated and given tetanus shots by Dr. Miller. The Van Dees feel that Christmas lasted one day longer for them. Here. And here's a picture of the Alfred and Elaine Van Dee family. In the back row, the 5 oldest children were from right. Keith, who was standing by his father, twins, Larry and Linda, who were in the back seat, Carol, who was in the front seat by her mother, and Audrey, the oldest, who was in the back seat. Not yet born were Daryl and Dwayne in the back row, who were also twins, and in the front row, Kevin, standing by his mother Elaine, Alfred, and my buddy Jill Van Dee. "91-year-old Bill Dougherty and his family came to the English Valleys History Center this week to donate a picture of his father, Horace Boys Dougherty, as he was named, after the governor of Iowa the year he was born, or Harry Dougherty, as we knew him, who served in World War I. Bill also brought his father's service flag and a letter Harry wrote from overseas in France. Bill is shown in this picture with his son David Dougherty on the left and his nephew Jeff Nadley on the right with the items they donated. Harry Dougherty was the manager of the telephone service in North English. And his wife, Daisy Simmons Dougherty, was a telephone operator. Daisy is the second from the right in the back row in this picture. This is the telephone office girls in a photo taken in 1956. The last telephone operators in the North English telephone system were Flossie West, Thelma Hahn, Daisy Dougherty, Rose King, and in the front, Mary Litzenberg and Ursula Reese. Harry and Daisy Dougherty lived up on Summit Street in a small house across from my parents' house at 109 South Summit Street. Since Harry and Daisy and Jeanette and Bill were all tall people, I was always amazed that they could fit into this little house. You might remember in last week's episode I mentioned that 16-year-old Bill Dougherty had been involved in a trash fire. Bill straightened out the history on that one for me. He had been burning off the garden debris for Mrs. Lillian Owen. It was a very dry November, and he thought the fire was all out when he left, but it reignited and burnt the barn, and then the house was severely damaged. He said that others thought that Mrs. Owen was mean, but he thought she was a very nice woman. He also remembered my mother, Etheldean Keller Geringer, and my uncles, Carol and Glenn Keller, who went to school with him. Correspondence. Mark Claypool from Sigourney said, "Welcome back, Jackie. You have had a busy schedule and traveled a lot of miles. Love this week of times past, and as usual, you're spot on with your history." Connie Brubaker from South English said, "Thank you, I have missed your programs." Ed Evans from Deep River said, "Cool." The next alumni luncheon will be Monday, August 31st, 2026 at the Main Street Pub and Grub. Please contact Alice Stramer or Linda Carter for seating. 2026 programs. The next program will be Sunday, June 28th at 2 p.m. Mike Williams from Kyoto will be presenting Automotive History, a Personal Obsession. Mike is a retired teacher from Kyoto. All programs at the English Valley's History Center are open to the public for a free will donation. Treats are served. And here's a picture of the car that Mike Williams will be bringing to his program that day. He'll have some examples of many of the vehicles that he has. And as you can see, that's our beautiful Susie Allison Lundberg. She's sitting right here. In that
58 model.
She's a 58 too. Okay, back to the program. Our sympathies this week to the family of Cody Garrett from the class of 2026. Cody faced many challenges in his life, but always had a ready smile. And we also remember today Regine Pakolke. Regine Fernie was her married name. Regine Pakolke was in the class of 1972. The family left to live in other towns in Iowa, as her father, Ray Pakolke, was the Methodist minister in North English from 1962 to 1970, and then they were transferred. Her brother Richard Pakolke and her sister Marcia Pakolke also both graduated from English Valleys. We're also interested in learning about historical English Valleys items that you might wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. That's it.
And that's a wrap. Thanks, Jackie.
Well, thank
I didn't know
you.
Regine